There's a photograph of Nikola Tesla sitting calmly beside a machine, throwing artificial lightning across an entire room. Electricity tears through the darkness around him like something alive. The air itself seems unstable, violent, almost supernatural. And yet Tesla sits perfectly still, reading a book as though the storm beside him were nothing more than rain against a window. That image tells you almost everything you need to know about him. Tesla did not merely want to invent machines, he wanted to understand the hidden architecture of reality itself. He believed the universe was built on invisible laws most people never notice: frequency, vibration, energy, patterns hidden beneath the surface of ordinary life. And the deeper he looked into those patterns, the further he drifted away from humanity. There is something strange about the way history remembers certain men. Most inventors are remembered for what they built. Most scientists are remembered for what they discovered. But Tesla is remembered almost like a myth, a ghost moving through the early modern world, carrying impossible ideas in his mind. Even now, more than a century later, his name still feels charged with mystery. People speak about him differently than they speak about other geniuses. Not as a businessman, not as an engineer, but almost as a prophet. A man who glimpsed something beyond the visible world and spent the rest of his life trying to bring it back with him. And perhaps that is because Tesla was never simply an inventor. He was a philosopher, disguised as an engineer. To understand Tesla, you first have to understand the kind of isolation that creates a mind like his. He was born in 1856, during a violent lightning storm in the village of Smiljan. According to legend, the midwife looked at the sky and declared the child would belong to darkness. Tesla's mother answered quietly, "No, he will be a child of light." Whether the story is literally true almost does not matter anymore. It feels true, and sometimes that is more important, because Tesla spent his entire life standing between those two forces: light and darkness, vision and madness, genius and isolation, human civilization and something beyond it. As a child, Tesla's mind already moved differently from everyone around him. He possessed an almost terrifying ability to visualize objects internally. He could build entire machines inside his imagination, rotate them mentally, test them, repair them, improve them, all without touching physical materials. Years later, he would claim that he rarely needed blueprints because his inventions already existed fully formed inside his mind long before they existed in reality. But this gift came with a cost. Tesla experienced violent flashes of imagery in his thoughts, sudden bursts of light, hallucination-like visions so vivid they interrupted the physical world around him. Certain sounds overwhelmed him, certain textures disturbed him. Small sensory details became unbearable. At times his own mind seemed less like a tool and more like an electrical storm he could barely control. This is the first pillar of Tesla's philosophy. The mind is not meant to merely observe reality, it is meant to penetrate it. Tesla believed most people moved through life half asleep. They saw only surfaces, only immediate functions. They looked at electricity and saw lamps, wires, machines. Tesla looked at electricity and saw the nervous system of the universe itself. That distinction changes everything, because Tesla was not obsessed with invention in the ordinary sense. He was obsessed with uncovering the hidden structure beneath existence itself. Energy became his philosophy, frequency became his language, invisible force became his religion. He once said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." Modern culture often turns that sentence into internet mysticism, stripping it of its depth. But for Tesla, this was not vague spirituality. It was literal truth. He believed reality itself operated through oscillation, through rhythmic forces interacting invisibly beneath the physical world. Sound was vibration, light was vibration, electricity was vibration, human thought itself, he believed, might also be a form of vibration moving through unseen fields. And unlike many intellectuals of his time, Tesla never emotionally separated science from awe. Modern people often imagine intelligence as cold, detached, mechanical, but Tesla approached science almost like a poet standing before something sacred. When he studied lightning, he did not see dead mathematics. He saw power moving through creation itself. When he imagined wireless communication crossing oceans invisibly, he did not merely see technology. He saw humanity becoming interconnected like neurons inside a planetary brain. There is a moment from Tesla's early life that feels almost symbolic of his entire philosophy. He was walking through a park in Budapest with a friend while reciting lines from Goethe's Faust. The sun was setting. Suddenly, in the middle of speaking, the solution to alternating current appeared fully formed inside his mind. The rotating magnetic field, the foundation of modern electrical civilization. Tesla stopped walking immediately. Then, using a stick, he drew the design directly into the dirt beneath his feet. Think about that carefully. Most people spend their lives reacting to reality. Tesla seemed to experience moments where reality revealed itself directly to him, and this created something dangerous inside him. The belief that he had a mission beyond ordinary life, not ambition in the normal sense, not greed, not hunger for status. Tesla's philosophy was stranger than that. He believed humanity itself was still primitive, temporary, incomplete. He looked at civilization and saw a species moving far below its potential, cities drowning in smoke, human labor wasted on repetitive suffering, nations fighting wars over resources while surrounded by limitless energy. And he became obsessed with accelerating humanity forward. This is why Teslas often seemed detached from ordinary human concerns. Comfort did not interest him. Wealth barely interested him. Relationships slowly became secondary to the work itself. At times, he spoke almost as though he were merely a conduit through which ideas passed. And perhaps that is why so many people who met Tesla described him in contradictory ways. Elegant, yet distant. Charming, yet unsettling. Brilliant, yet strangely disconnected from ordinary emotional life. He possessed refinement, humor, culture. He spoke multiple languages. He understood literature, mathematics, music, philosophy, engineering. But beneath all of it, there was distance, a feeling that part of him no longer fully belonged to the human world around him. When Tesla arrived in America in 1884, he carried almost nothing with him. A few belongings, some calculations, and a letter of recommendation addressed to Thomas Edison, which reportedly read, "I know two great men. One is you, the other is this young man." It sounds like the beginning of mythology, because in many ways it was. America at that moment was becoming a machine. Steel, oil, factories, industrial expansion, modern capitalism rising with enormous force. And Tesla stepped into that world carrying a philosophy completely incompatible with it. Because Edison represented practicality, Tesla represented vision. And those are not the same thing. Edison believed invention was fundamentally material. Build something useful, sell it, improve it incrementally, control the market. Tesla believed invention was revelation, a process of uncovering hidden truths about the universe itself. That philosophical difference would eventually erupt into one of the most important technological conflicts in modern history. The war between direct current and alternating current was never merely a battle over electrical systems. Beneath the engineering was a deeper ideological conflict about the future of civilization itself. Edison's direct current systems could power local areas, but they were inefficient across long distances. Tesla's alternating current system could transmit electricity across enormous distances with radically greater efficiency. One system represented limitation, the other represented expansion. And Tesla became obsessed with expansion. He envisioned a future where energy moved freely across continents, a world where electricity became as accessible as air itself. He imagined humanity liberated from physical constraints by invisible networks of power moving silently around the globe. Most people around him thought in terms of products. Tesla thought in terms of civilization. This is why he often failed financially despite being intellectually generations ahead of his contemporaries. The modern world rewards people who understand markets. Tesla understood possibility. And those are not the same skill. There is a revealing story from this period of his life. After working exhausting hours for Edison, Tesla claimed he had been promised a large financial reward if he improved Edison's inefficient generators. Tesla succeeded, but when he asked about the promised payment, Edison reportedly laughed and said, "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor. Whether the quote is perfectly accurate almost no longer matters." Symbolically, it captures the entire fracture between them. Edison represented industrial realism. Tesla represented transcendence. And transcendence is almost always punished by reality. Tesla eventually left Edison's company humiliated, exhausted, and nearly penniless. For a period of time, one of the greatest minds in human history survived by digging ditches for manual labor. Imagine that image for a moment. A man capable of envisioning the electrical future of civilization reduced to physically tearing through dirt with his hands because the world could not yet understand the scale of what he saw. That moment matters philosophically, because Tesla's life constantly returns to one painful truth. The distance between genius and recognition is often measured in suffering. Modern culture romanticizes visionaries after they die. But while they are alive, visionaries are frequently treated as unstable, impractical, obsessive, or insane. Human beings are deeply uncomfortable around people who see too far ahead, because such people expose the limitations of everyone around them. Tesla carried that loneliness everywhere, and slowly it transformed him. When his alternating current system finally succeeded, it did more than defeat Edison technologically. It reshaped civilization itself. The successful illumination of the Chicago World's Fair in 1893 stunned the modern world. Entire buildings flooded with electric light. Machines powered silently through invisible currents. Crowds stood beneath the glow, experiencing something that must have felt almost supernatural. For the first time, humanity glimpsed the electrical age, and at the center of it stood Tesla. But here is what makes Tesla fascinating. Even after achieving revolutionary success, he never seemed emotionally satisfied by victory itself, because success was never the true goal. Discovery was. The moment one idea became reality, his mind immediately moved toward the next horizon. Wireless transmission, remote-controlled machines, artificial intelligence like automation, global communication systems, energy towers capable of transmitting power through the atmosphere itself. Many of these ideas sounded impossible to the people around him. Some still sound impossible even now. And this is where Tesla begins to transform from inventor into something more unsettling, a man consumed by the future. There are moments in Tesla's later interviews where he no longer sounds like someone living entirely in the present. He speaks about technologies decades before they emerge. Handheld communication devices, wireless information networks, automated systems replacing human labor, flying machines, renewable energy infrastructures. At times it feels less like prediction and more like someone remembering fragments of a world not yet built. And perhaps that is why Tesla continues to fascinate modern audiences so intensely, because he represents something rare, not merely intelligence, but prophetic intelligence, the kind of mind capable of seeing structural changes in civilization long before ordinary people recognize them. But prophetic minds carry terrible costs, because the further Tesla moved into the future psychologically, the further he drifted away from ordinary human life. By the early 1900s, Tesla had already helped reshape the modern world, yet internally, he seemed to be moving toward isolation rather than fulfillment. This is one of the strangest patterns in the lives of certain geniuses. Achievement does not calm them. It intensifies them. The more Tesla succeeded, the more impossible his ambitions became. Ordinary inventors solve practical problems. Tesla wanted to redesign civilization itself, and underneath that ambition was a deeper philosophical belief. He believed human beings were wasting enormous amounts of energy, not only physically but mentally and spiritually. He looked at modern society and saw distraction, greed, conflict, petty competition, human intelligence trapped inside primitive systems. This is why Tesla's vision of technology was fundamentally different from the vision that ultimately dominated the 20th century. Most industrialists saw technology as a tool for profit. Tesla saw technology as liberation. He believed advanced energy systems could eliminate poverty. He believed wireless communication could unite humanity intellectually. He believed automation could free human beings from meaningless labor and allow civilization to evolve toward higher pursuits. In many ways, Tesla's philosophy was profoundly idealistic, and idealists often collide violently with reality. Because reality is rarely shaped by the wisest people, it is usually shaped by the most economically powerful. The conflict became painfully clear during Tesla's attempt to build the Warden Cliff Tower. To this day, the tower feels almost symbolic, a gigantic structure rising toward the sky like a monument to impossible ambition. Tesla envisioned it as the beginning of a worldwide wireless system capable of transmitting both information and electrical power across the planet. Think about how radical that idea was for the early 20th century. The modern world had barely begun using electricity consistently, and Tesla was already imagining a globally interconnected civilization linked invisibly through wireless energy and communication. In many ways, he was describing the psychological foundations of the modern digital age before the digital age even existed. But Tesla made one catastrophic mistake. He believed humanity would support ideas simply because they benefited civilization. That is not how power works. Financiers demanded profitability. Investors demanded control. The industrial world did not want free global energy systems. It wanted ownership, scarcity, infrastructure that could be monetized. And Tesla, despite his immense intelligence, never fully understood that reality. This is another core pillar of his philosophy. He believed truth itself possessed intrinsic value powerful enough to transform the world automatically once revealed. But history does not work that way. A brilliant idea alone is never enough. Ideas must survive politics, economics, ego, fear, and human self-interest. Tesla understood energy better than almost anyone alive, but he often misunderstood people, and that misunderstanding slowly destroyed him. When financier J.P. Morgan realized Tesla's wireless system might eventually provide free energy access impossible to meter or control, support for the project began collapsing. Funding disappeared, construction slowed, the tower became unfinished, silent, empty. There is something deeply tragic about that image. Tesla standing before the ruins of a dream that was simply too large for the world around him to accept. Because Warden Cliff was never merely a machine. It was Tesla's philosophy made physical, a belief that humanity could transcend limitation through knowledge freely shared across the planet. And watching that dream collapse changed him permanently. After the failure of Warden Cliff, something in Tesla seems to fracture psychologically. He continued inventing, continued theorizing, continued speaking publicly, but the tone changed. The optimism faded into isolation. He became increasingly obsessive, increasingly ritualistic. He developed compulsive behaviors around cleanliness and numbers. He feared germs intensely. He became fixated on patterns involving the number 3. He avoided physical contact. He washed his hands repeatedly. He demanded precise arrangements of objects around him. Modern observers often speculate about psychological conditions that may explain these behaviors. But beyond diagnosis lies something more philosophically interesting. Tesla's mind had become too ordered for ordinary reality. He wanted perfection in a universe fundamentally built on imperfection. And that tension consumed him, because Tesla's greatest strength and greatest weakness were ultimately the same thing. His inability to think small, He could not reduce his mind to ordinary scales of ambition. Even late in life, nearly bankrupt and increasingly isolated, he still spoke in world-altering terms. Directed energy weapons, planetary communication systems, machines capable of harnessing cosmic forces. Some of these ideas were brilliant, some were impossible, and some existed in the strange territory between visionary insight and psychological unraveling. That ambiguity is essential to understanding Tesla, because genius and madness are not opposites. Sometimes they are neighboring rooms connected by the same hallway. The human mind evolved to help people survive ordinary reality, but certain minds push beyond those limits so aggressively that they begin losing stable connection with the social world around them. Tesla may have been one of those minds, and yet even as his personal life deteriorated, his philosophical vision remained strangely consistent. He continued believing humanity stood at the edge of enormous transformation. He continued believing energy would redefine civilization. He continued believing human consciousness itself might one day evolve beyond violence, greed, and war. At times, he sounded less like an inventor and more like a man trying desperately to convince humanity not to waste its future. There is a loneliness in that role few people truly understand. To see possibilities others cannot yet see. To feel the future arriving before everyone else notices it. To stand psychologically ahead of your own civilization while being forced to live inside its limitations anyway. That kind of isolation changes a person. And in Tesla's case, it slowly turned him into something almost ghost-like. By the 1930s, the world that Tesla helped create was rapidly industrializing around him. Cities glowed with electric light, radios transmitted voices invisibly across continents, massive power systems reshaped modern civilization, and yet Tesla himself lived increasingly alone inside hotel rooms in New York, feeding pigeons in the park and speaking to reporters about inventions the public no longer fully understood. There is something haunting about the final years of Nikola Tesla, not because he died poor. Poverty alone is not tragedy. The real tragedy is that he lived long enough to watch the modern world absorb his ideas while slowly forgetting the philosophy behind them. Because Tesla never believed electricity was merely about convenience. He believed it was about transformation. He imagined a civilization elevated by access to knowledge, energy, and interconnected intelligence. But the 20th century often used technology not to transcend humanity's lower instincts, but to amplify them. Wars became more efficient. Propaganda became faster. Industrial systems became larger and more impersonal. The same electrical power Tesla imagined liberating civilization also powered factories of destruction. And somewhere inside that contradiction lies one of the deepest questions in Tesla's philosophy. Does human progress actually make humanity wiser? Or does it merely make human beings more powerful versions of what they already are? Tesla never fully resolved that question. Perhaps nobody ever has. But in his final years, there are signs that he increasingly understood the darker side of technological evolution. He spoke publicly about weapons capable of ending war through absolute deterrence. He warned about humanity's inability to emotionally mature at the same pace as its inventions. He feared that scientific advancement without ethical advancement could eventually become catastrophic. That fear feels disturbingly modern now, because Tesla lived at the exact moment when humanity crossed an invisible threshold. For thousands of years, civilization had been limited primarily by physical force, distance, labor, geography, energy scarcity. But electricity changed the scale of human capability permanently, and Tesla understood that earlier than almost anyone. He understood that once humanity learned to manipulate invisible forces at planetary scale, civilization itself would begin accelerating faster than human psychology could comfortably handle. Look at the modern world for a moment through Tesla's eyes. Billions of people connected instantly through invisible signals moving through the atmosphere. Entire societies psychologically shaped by electrical networks. Machines replacing human labor. Artificial intelligence emerging from vast systems of energy and information. Human attention fragmented by constant technological stimulation. Tesla predicted fragments of all of it. Not perfectly, not literally, but philosophically. Because what Tesla truly foresaw was not simply new technology. He foresaw a new relationship between humanity and reality itself. A civilization increasingly detached from physical limitations and increasingly shaped by invisible systems. And perhaps that is why Tesla feels strangely contemporary even now. More contemporary in some ways than many figures who lived much later. He speaks directly to modern anxieties because he was among the first people to fully psychologically inhabit the coming electrical age. But here is what makes his story truly powerful. Tesla himself could not survive the world he helped create. That paradox sits at the center of his life. The man who illuminated modern civilization spent his final years largely alone. And the man who dreamed of global interconnectedness became socially isolated. The man obsessed with the future became increasingly disconnected from the present. There are stories from his later years that feel almost unbearably symbolic. Tesla feeding pigeons outside hotels in New York, Tesla becoming emotionally attached to a particular white pigeon he described with startling tenderness, Tesla sitting alone in dimly lit rooms while the modern electrical civilization he helped create expanded endlessly outside his window. At times, it feels less like the ending of an inventor's life and more like the ending of a myth. And perhaps myths always end this way, because the same intensity that allows certain individuals to push humanity forward often prevents them from fully participating in ordinary life. Tesla sacrificed almost everything to the pursuit of vision: stability, intimacy, comfort, emotional belonging. He gave those things away piece by piece in exchange for proximity to ideas larger than himself, and whether that trade was noble or tragic depends entirely on how one defines a meaningful life. This is the final pillar of Tesla's philosophy. A human being must decide what they are willing to sacrifice for transcendence. Tesla chose vision over comfort. Always. He chose possibility over stability, the future over the present, discovery over emotional safety. He pushed his own mind relentlessly toward the edge of what it could perceive, even when doing so isolated him from nearly everyone around him. And there is something both inspiring and terrifying about that choice, because Tesla represents a type of human being modern society both admires and fears: the obsessive visionary, the individual willing to detach from conventional life in pursuit of something enormous and invisible. Most people do not actually want truth at any cost. Most people want stability. Tesla wanted revelation, and revelation changes people permanently. There's a line Tesla once spoke late in life that feels almost like a summary of his entire existence. He said, "The present is theirs. The future, for which I really worked, is mine." That is not merely confidence. It is the philosophy of a man psychologically living decades ahead of his own civilization. And history, strangely enough, proved him right. The modern world runs through Tesla's imagination, whether most people realize it or not. Alternating current systems power entire nations. Wireless communication reshaped human interaction. Remote technologies transformed warfare and industry. Automation continues replacing physical labor. Invisible electrical networks now surround nearly every human being on Earth. We are living inside the future Tesla sensed approaching long before others could see it clearly. But perhaps the most important part of Tesla's philosophy has nothing to do with electricity at all. Perhaps it is this: human beings become spiritually smaller when they stop imagining impossible things. Tesla refused to stop, even when investors abandoned him, even when rivals mocked him, even when his ideas sounded absurd, even when isolation consumed his personal life. He continued looking beyond the visible horizon of his age toward possibilities no one else could fully grasp yet. That relentless movement toward the unknown is the real philosophy of Nikola Tesla. Not simply invention, not simply intelligence, but the belief that reality contains far more than ordinary perception allows us to see. And that the human mind, at its highest level, exists to pursue those hidden possibilities no matter the cost. Tesla died alone in a hotel room in New York City in 1943 at the age of 86. But perhaps that is not the most important thing about him. The most important thing is that the world after Tesla was not the world before him. He reached into the invisible structure of reality itself and pulled the future closer. And even now, more than a century later, humanity is still trying to catch up with the things he saw in the lightning.